My sister tried to tell me how to serve my husband, but I don't take advice from people in failing marriages. My husband, 28M, and I, 27F, have been married for 2 years, and we have an unusual sleeping arrangement. I'm a very light sleeper, and I've struggled with insomnia most of my life. It takes me a long time to fall asleep, and sometimes even the slightest noise wakes me up, requiring me to start all over again. On the other hand, my husband sleeps like a rock, kicks the crap out of me, and occasionally talks in his sleep. He's been like this since he was a kid, and any attempts to stop it have been a failure. I have a job that requires me to get up super early, so my sleep is really important. When we first moved in together, we slept in the same bed, but of course, that didn't work out. I was left exhausted, and he felt super guilty, even when he wasn't consciously doing it. Eventually, we decided to sleep in separate bedrooms. It's not like we're angry with each other or anything, we just understand that some people just have different sleeping habits, and this hasn't affected our intimate life at all. My older sister, Layla, 32F, and her husband are going through a rough patch in their marriage. I think her husband is a real piece of work. He cheated on her, and made some poor excuse that he did it just because she was ignoring him and refused to fulfill his needs. She's so busy because they have 3 kids that he doesn't help her with at all. I was shocked when she told me she was staying with him even after the affair was exposed. I tried to talk her out of it, but she told me to mind my own business, so I did. They're in marriage counseling now, and from what Layla has relayed to me, it's not going well. She's been trying to change to fix their relationship, but he doesn't even try to become a better husband. He just shoots some half-baked apology and justifies his actions. I hate him, but I guess it's her choice as a grown woman to stay. She's, of course, devastated, but also reacting weirdly to the entire thing. She's convinced herself that it's all her fault. If she had just paid more attention to him, then none of this wouldn't have happened. I've tried to tell her that isn't true, but she doesn't listen. The other day, she came to our apartment to chat, and so I could see my nieces. My husband was at work, and it's important to note she had actually never been to my apartment before. She and her husband have a large fancy house, so I usually just go to them. With how tense things are now, she said she'd prefer to come to my apartment. One of my nieces opened what she thought was the bathroom door, when it was actually the door to my husband's separate bedroom. Layla saw inside that it was lived in, so she asked if we had gotten a roommate. I said no and just gave her a quick rundown on the situation. She seemed a bit weirded out, but didn't say anything until my nieces were all in the living room watching a movie. She began to ask all these weird questions about our intimate life, love for one another, etc. I said we were doing just fine, and that some of the personal questions she asked were none of her business. She got a bit snappy and said that she's just trying to help me. That if I left my husband out of my bedroom and didn't attend to his needs, then he might just run off with some other woman. She told me to be careful, and that it would be better to just sleep in one bed despite any sleep issues. She even said, "You have to keep an eye on him constantly so he won't feel the need to leave you for someone more attentive." At this point, I was pretty frustrated. It wasn't even about the bedrooms anymore, she was just projecting her situation onto me. I was also upset that she would dare suggest my husband would cheat on me for not being attentive enough. I snapped and sharply said that her husband is the cheating piece of crap, not mine. Just because her marriage is failing doesn't mean she gets to critique and coach mine. That made her super angry, and she immediately stood up and stormed to the living room to get her daughters and went home. Since then, she won't answer my calls. She just sent me one text that said she was just trying to help, and to not be surprised when my husband cheats. My husband was offended as well, but he said he understood since she's going through a very tough time. He suggested I was just a bit too harsh, and should have let her get her paranoia rant out of her system and move on. Her mental state isn't all that good, and she's probably just not thinking clearly, and my mom agrees with him. She said Layla was being weird and insensitive, but I shouldn't have said something so personal. Yelling at her will only push her further away from us and towards her trash husband. I actually feel kind of bad now. She's obviously not thinking clearly, and I should have just moved on. Update 1. Thank you all so much for your advice on my original post. Something very intense happened with my sister last night. I was getting anxious, and was planning to go to her house to apologize and try to move on from this. But before I could go, my mom called and asked me to come over. I was shocked to arrive and see my sister sobbing with her suitcase and daughters. She was very distraught and still crying, so we had a bit of a hard time understanding her. Eventually, we figured out what happened. Apparently, earlier that day when she was home, her husband said something so repulsive she just left. Before that, she was serving him a drink and walked away to clean the kitchen and do some laundry. Her oldest daughter walked in and plopped onto the couch beside her father to watch a movie. He laughed, and made some joke about how she should enjoy lazing around now because when she gets a husband, all that's gonna end. My niece asked how come, and he pointed to my sister and said, "Look at your mom for example. Great right now, but we almost divorced when she neglected her wifely duties. You should just be like her now all the time and skip the drama." That broke my sister. She packed up and left within the hour. He didn't chase and just said she'll be home soon. She's still frazzled and doesn't talk much, but I'm happy she's away from her trash husband. Edit. Sorry if I described that weirdly, I meant it more as he's a non-factor as a father and husband. He's a trust fund baby and has a good job, so yeah, he's the one that pays most of the bills. My sister had a job for a bit after they got married, but after their second daughter was born, he told her to quit. All three of the girls are at my mom's house now. I know he does provide money, but he does nothing but hold it over her head. We haven't worked out the details, but she'll probably stay with my mom now, and we'll help her with the girls and the divorce process.